Hey there, it's Nathan with Crazy Marketing, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set up an Evergreen webinar funnel with ClickFunnels. Now this video will be a little long because I'm going to do it all in one foul swoop. I'll do a little editing here and there, but for the most part it's going to be an over-the-shoulder view as I set up an Evergreen webinar funnel with ClickFunnels. Now a few assumptions. First, I assume that you do have a ClickFunnels account. I assume that you have your SMTP settings configured, whether you're using Amazon SES or SendGrid or some other SMTP settings. I assume you have a payment processor in place, whether it's Stripe or Braintree or whatever else. I also assume that you know the bare basics of ClickFunnels. You could use their page builder. You know how to click around a little bit. You've logged in and you've screwed with it for at least like 3 days. Also, I assume you have a webinar and that you've recorded it. I'm not going to go over webinar strategy or anything like that in this video. This is just basically purely technical setup. Now, I created a little checklist that we're going to follow, and hopefully it's right. I did it off the top of my head, so I may update it as we go through this video if I missed a step or something. So first things first, we had to go ahead and set up a new funnel, and it's going to be a webinar replay funnel. Then we're going to set our page templates. We're going to add an order form and order confirmation pages. Then we'll go ahead and configure our page paths. Then we'll set up the hourly timer configuration. Talk a minute about the 15-minute timer. So instead of doing it every hour, you do it every 15 minutes. We're going to go ahead and set the offer display timer, set the button display timer, and then we're going to talk about the automations briefly. So let's head over to ClickFunnels and get this show on the road. So here we are in ClickFunnels, and we're going to come up here to add new. We're going to host a webinar, and this is a webinar replay, and I'm just going to call it Crazy Marketing Webinar Demo. And you could go ahead and assign a group tag if you want to. That's just a good way to keep your funnels organized if you have a whole bunch of them. I'm going to go ahead and hit Build Funnel, and ClickFunnels is going to go ahead and build us our funnel for us. Now let's go back to our little checklist here. So we built our funnel, webinar replay funnel. Now we're going to go ahead and set our page templates. So you can go ahead and select some of these templates that ClickFunnels has built for you. Normally I'll just select one randomly, delete everything off of it, and then make my own however I want. But these are proven or supposedly proven, so if you want to use them, by all means you can. So I'm just going to select templates because in order to move forward, you do need to assign a template per each page. So there's one template assigned. Now let's go to the webinar countdown and go ahead and assign a template for this page. Now webinar broadcast room, assign a template for this page. And then webinar replay room. And go ahead and assign a template for this page. Alright, cool. Let's check our checklist. So we set our page templates. Now we're going to go ahead and add our order form and confirmation page. So typically on a webinar, you're selling something, and hopefully you'll take your order through ClickFunnels because that's how it's meant to work. Like the automations and all that other stuff is configured to work within ClickFunnels. So if you can keep your webinar and your order processing and everything inside of ClickFunnels, then it all just works better. So assuming you're selling something on the webinar, you're going to go ahead and set up an order form and confirmation page within ClickFunnels. If you're not selling anything, then I guess you don't need to set up these pages. So we're going to come in here, we're going to add a new step. I'll just call it order form, and show in funnel, and we'll come back through and do the page paths later. And it's going to ask me to select a template here, and we want to go to sales and order form, and then you can go ahead and select your order form. And of course you can go back through and customize all this stuff later on. I always wipe everything out and make it look how I want. Now we got to add our order confirmation page, order confirmation, show in funnel. We'll come back to page path, create funnel step. Now we got to select our template, so we'll go to sales and order confirmation, and then just select your template here. And boom, we are good to go. So we have our webinar pages, these 4 right here, and then we have our order pages right here. So let's come back into our checklist here. So now we're going to go ahead and set our page paths. So come up here, I'm going to go ahead and set the settings. And if you have a domain configured with ClickFunnels, whether it's a subdomain or a full domain, you could go ahead and select that here. I'm going to go do that real quick. So I selected my subdomain secure.crazymarketing.com, and I'm just going to call this SEM webinar demo. So this is the page path to the actual funnel. So it'll bring them to the first page of the funnel, which is this auto webinar registration page, which is an opt-in page. And then again, assuming you've screwed around a little bit with ClickFunnels, hopefully you have your SMTP configuration set up. You can set your favicon here, set up your head tracking code, so maybe your Facebook pixel right through here. You got body tracking codes, and go ahead, set your Stripe account or payment account, and so on. And then always scroll to the bottom here, and you got to hit this save and update settings option. I always miss that for some reason. I don't know, it's just at the bottom, I don't know, in a hurry, whatever. All right, so we did it for our funnel level, which is this blue tab section up here. We set our funnel stuff. Now we got to go through and set our page settings, our page paths. So first things first is we're going to go start at the top with our auto webinar registration page, and I call it demo and registration. So this is just how I configure my page paths. You can of course configure them however you want, but it just helps me keep things organized. So I have the page itself, which is this right here, and then there is the variation that you need to name as well. So you hit this little gear icon, and you have the page path to your particular variation. And so this first one I do -A. If I make another variation for split test, I'd make it -B and -C and so on. So don't forget to create the page paths for both your page and then your variation. So we're going to go do that several more times here. So we're on the webinar countdown page, and this will be countdown, update funnel step, and then our variation -A. Now broadcast room, publishing, go broadcast, update funnel step, and our gear icon here, broadcast A, now webinar replay room, publishing, replay, variation A, order form, publishing, order, gear icon, order A, confirmation page, last page, confirmation, and boom, done. So our page paths are done now. Let's go back to our little checklist here. So now we can go ahead and set up our hourly timer configuration. And this is more a matter of personal preference. Let me load up our registration page real quick. So this is what our default webinar registration page looks like. We have our opt-in form here, and we can give people the option to select a showtime. So they could watch yesterday's broadcast right now, and if they select that option, they're going to be instantly brought to the webinar broadcast room. So they're not going to see this webinar countdown page at all. They'll go log in here, skip right to the broadcast room, go straight into watching the webinar. And then of course, if they set a date in the future at some point, then they'll receive emails and automation and everything that you have set up when this time frame comes to fruition. So you can leave it like this if you want, but the reason I don't like this option is because if they hit this option here to watch yesterday's broadcast now, and they skip over the webinar countdown page, which is essentially like a hey, you registered page, and they skip over it and they go into this webinar broadcast room, they're going to miss the stuff on this page. And oftentimes what you want to place on this page is like a slow or a self-liquidating offer or tripwire or something like that. Some way, some product or something that you can sell, hopefully to recoup some of your ad spend. So if they're skipping over this page, they're not going to see your self-liquidating offer or your tripwire. So that's not cool because you want to make that money back. But another reason I want people to land on this page is I'll typically have a conversion pixel on this page. So I'll be tracking for leads or registrations with the Facebook pixel. So that way I can see how well my campaigns are doing. So I want people to land on this page for pixel tracking, as well as so they see my self-liquidating offer or my tripwire or whatever, something I'm selling on this page. So I don't want them to watch yesterday's broadcast now. I want them to have to wait to watch the webinar. And I might not want them to have to wait, several days. And instead I want them to wait like 1 hour. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to set up the webinar to occur at the top of every hour. And fortunately, ClickFunnels does have a tutorial on how to do that. So how to create an hourly web class auto webinar. So I'll link to this down below and everything so you can follow these instructions, or you can kind of watch as I do it right here in front of you live. So I'm just going to do it pretty quickly because I've done this several times now. First things first, I'm going to come in here to edit page. And let me move this over here. So first things first, I got to go ahead and add this to my page. So I'm going to hit this little icon, and I got to add some custom JavaScript or HTML. Paste that on in there. And then I got to paste this on in here. And I can delete these two boxes here. I won't need them because my webinar is going to start at the top of every hour. And it explains that in this video up here and throughout this article. So footer, tracking code, come in here. Settings, tracking code, footer code, paste it on in there. Cool. Add this to my CSS settings. So come in here, copy this, settings, custom CSS, paste that there. And I know I'm going quick through here. Like I said, I've done this like a dozen times. So, and then we're going to paste this one on our countdown page. So come back over here, webinar countdown, edit this page. Settings, tracking code, footer, paste that on in there, save, webinar countdown, okay, save, come back out here, let me go preview this page, let's see what it looks like now. So we see right here I have my timer counting down. Today at 11 a.m. it's 10:50 a.m. so I got about 10 minutes or 9 minutes and 52 seconds. Now it's white, so I got to do some editing with this CSS right here. Now I'm just going to do this real quick because I'm not going to show you how to like customize these pages because we'll be here all day. And like I said, hopefully you know the basics of ClickFunnels so you know how to do this type of changes. Now preview. Alright, so here we go. I've got my little countdown timer here. If I register for my spot now, it's going to bring me to the countdown page. And see, it's working. I got to wait another 8 minutes to enter my webinar here. And also you probably want to delete this stuff. I mean, because they're only going to wait, 8 minutes or the top of every hour. So anyway, I think you get the point here. It's a top of the hour, hourly Evergreen webinar. So that way every hour you got a new webinar starting. Now, let me come back to this checklist here. So we set up an hourly timer configuration, but there's also the option for a 15-minute timer. So every 15 minutes you have a webinar going off, but this is a pro tool. If you go to cfprotools.com, guy named Jamie, he works closely with ClickFunnels, and he's gone ahead and created a 15-minute Evergreen webinar timer. It does cost $37 to access the timer, so it is paid, but it's pretty cool. So if you want your webinar to start every 15 minutes, you can grab his tool and follow his instructions to install it. Or if you want it to start every hour, you can follow the instructions that ClickFunnels provides. So either way is cool with me. All right, so we talked about our timer configurations and all that stuff. Now we got to go ahead and set offer display timer. So what this is it's like a signal to ClickFunnels of when you mention your offer within your webinar. Because, let me go to the automations here. Because we have different reasons, or different triggers for sending automations. So we got emails for everyone that register for the webinar. If they register and then they miss the webinar, we have automations we can send. If they registered and attended the webinar but they missed the offer, so typically during a webinar you talk for 45 minutes or whatever, teaching them something, and then you pitch for another 45 minutes. So you want to make sure that people see your offer, otherwise you might send them different emails. Like if they saw your offer but they didn't buy, you probably tell them, hey, you saw the offer, you know what I'm selling here, come buy it. Whereas if they didn't see your offer, then you might send them a replay email or something like that. And that comes down to strategy and however you want to handle your Evergreen webinar, but that's typically how things go. So you got to tell ClickFunnels when you give your audience the pitch or you show them the offer. So if they attended but they missed the offer, so they left before you pitched your product, or they saw your offer, so they stayed, saw your pitch but didn't buy, what emails you're going to send them, and then if they purchased your offer, what emails you're going to send them. And again, this purchase thing gets tracked and triggered because you're selling a product through this funnel right here, which is why we set up the order form and order confirmation right here in the funnel. So yeah, we got to go in and tell ClickFunnels when your offer is presented. And to do that, we're going to come to our broadcast room. So this is where people, watch your webinar. And we got to do something here that's kind of strange, and they don't tell you to do this. So it took me a while to figure out. But what we got to do is we got to open the page in the classic editor, because for some reason this option or this functionality is not in the new editor. So we're going to do, or if it is in the new editor, I could not find it. So we got to do it in the classic editor. Hit this option here. And we're going to come up here to settings, and we're going to come to auto webinar show offer time right up here. And so we show offer at how many seconds? Let's say we talk for 45 minutes and then we show the offer. So 45 times 60 seconds is 2,700 seconds. So if somebody stays on our webinar for 2,700 seconds, that signals to ClickFunnels that they saw our offer, which is going to change which emails they're going to send out. So that's how we set that number, okay? Now that I spent probably an hour trying to figure out how to set that timer, and lo and behold, it's still in the classic editor, but again, it's not in that new editor. Maybe they'll add it someday, or maybe it is in there, but I suck at finding things. I don't really know. Anyway, so that's where you go ahead and you set up the set offer display timer. And then you could also go ahead and set a button display timer. So now I can go ahead and open the broadcast room in the new pretty editor. So oftentimes when you have these webinars going on, you don't give people many options. Like all they can really do is sit here and watch the webinar. You don't want to be showing them a bunch of other stuff, so you keep it real simple, real clean. You just show them the webinar. But when you pitch your offer, you might want to make a button pop up on the screen that takes them to the offer or gives them more information. So let me go ahead and add a button here. And let me configure it. Go buy the cool product. And we can set our action. And this would actually go to the order confirmation page. Can't remember my URL, but not order confirmation, order form page. So that's where this button would go, is to the order form so they could buy it. And we come up here to advanced and do animation, time delay, fade in, and 2700 seconds. So this button isn't going to show up. Broadcast room. See, there's no button here, so this button's not going to show up until 2700 seconds have passed, or 45 minutes. So when the offer is presented, at the same time the offer is presented, and at the same time ClickFunnels sees that the person is seeing the offer, we're going to show them that button at the same time. So we could be like, hey, there's a new button down below that you could click to go buy it right now. Or of course you could go ahead and present a whole section here. You can add timers to any of this stuff. So if you want to present your offer after 2700 seconds, see, that whole section now won't appear until 2700 seconds have passed. 2700 seconds have passed. So we can do that. So that's how you go ahead and set that button here if you want to do something along those lines. So all that's left now is our automation settings. So let's come up in here. And we're going to come to this front page here, the auto webinar registration settings and automations. And the video and instructions here talk about what to do with the automation, so I recommend checking that out. But basically, like, this email is not going to fire because of it's waiting till you're a day out from the webinar. And if the webinar shows every hour or every 15 minutes, they're not going to see this email. So you could delete this email, or you could go ahead and change the delay of your email. Same thing with this one, webinar starting soon, starting now. So you could set this to maybe instead of -0.1, set it to -0.25, that 15 minutes I'm thinking. So this email would go out 15 minutes before your webinar starts. So if you have a top of the hour webinar and it's going to start at noon, but they sign up at 11:05, they got to wait 55 minutes until your webinar starts. So you might want to send them an email at 11:45 saying, hey, remember you signed up for this webinar? Well, it's starting in 15 minutes or something like that. Again, they explain it in this video tutorial, and you can do the math on converting decimals to minutes and all that stuff. So hopefully that didn't confuse you or go over your head. I'm sure you're smart and can figure it out. I just wanted to point it out to you. All right, now obviously this is the missed webinar automation. So if somebody registered for the webinar but then didn't show up for it, what emails do you want to send them? You can send them to your replay room. You could send them just to your offer. Send them, it comes down to strategy here. So attended but missed offer. So they started the webinar, maybe they watched 10 minutes and then they're like, okay, I got to go back to work, or I don't like this, I'm leaving. Whatever, they left before the 2700 seconds in our example, what type of emails we want to send them. And then of course saw offer but didn't purchase, what do we want to send them? And then if they purchased, what do we want to send them? And this comes back down to knowing some of the basics of ClickFunnels. Like you can add your new emails here. You can add SMS text if you're connected to Twilio. You can add different actions if you have Actionetics and etc. this is more ClickFunnels thing. I just wanted to point out to you where these automations are, so you know where to find them and when they're triggered. So as I was editing the video, I realized I probably should have covered some of these email merge tags for ClickFunnels and Actionetics emails. So there's this website right here, and I'll link to it down below. But it lists all the merge tags or personalization tags that you can use within your emails. So like calling people their name or their first name or last name, or including their information. And then there are auto webinar and webinar only merge tags. So there's like the webinar title, which is actually the name of your funnel. Oh, it says that right there. But then the date, the time, the date time, the replay URL. So this is going to bring them to the replay page in your funnel. So webinar replay room, and it's going to generate like a custom link for that individual, so that way it can track them properly. So using these merge tags generates unique links per each user, so that way you can better track people. So instead of just creating your own direct link in an email to the replay page, you'd want to use this merge tag to insert your replay URL. And same thing with the webinar link. You'd want to use the webinar link merge tag or merge code right in your email, as opposed to linking directly to the broadcast room. So let me just, for the sake of showing it to you, the replay URL. So come up in here. So if they missed the webinar, let's say we want to bring them to the replay, we just come on in here and they actually already have it for us. So I'll just do it again anyway. So replay URL. So you can make it say whatever. Here. Click here to watch the replay. Cool. Highlight it and hit the link option, insert link, and paste the merge tag right here. Insert, and there we go. So now this will automatically link to the custom link to the replay page. So you'd want to link your replay page and your broadcast emails with these merge tag links, as opposed to linking directly to the page. And when I say linking directly to the page, I mean like instead of copying this link and pasting it in that email, you use the merge tag. Hopefully that's making sense, and I just wanted to point that out to you real quick. So that's pretty much how you set up the structure of everything. Of course, you're probably going to go back in there, edit the content of the pages, make them your own, add your webinar, add all that stuff, customize the automations and your emails and all that type of stuff. So you still got a lot of work to do, but hopefully this kind of laid out the framework and the structure of how to set up the Evergreen webinar funnels within ClickFunnels, because I could not find like a all-in-one tutorial. Like, I found this little thing right here, but then how do I get to this point? So I'm hoping this is like an all-in-one video to get you off on the right track faster than not. All right, I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a comment or something like that. Whatever. All right, take it easy.